Hello and welcome to my third Pocketeers video. So this time we're going to be looking at the Pocketeers that were released in the UK by Palitoy, and these date from about 1978 to 1979. Very late 79 into 1980. And these were the last batches that came in this format with the very recognisable green boxes. This is a really nice condition one. It's got that little £1.50 mark on the back cover. But I remember having this one when I was young, Tremor. And basically it's just like a labyrinth maze, and you use the little turning circle there, and that tilts the playing field there, and you've got to get the ball from A to B basically. It's a pretty straightforward job to do, but you know, all good fun all the same. And I really like these sort of ball bearing based sort of maze Pocketeers, and they remind me of the old 1930s Journey puzzles, which came out to the very late 1960s, and they were like glass-topped dexterity puzzles, which I always loved when I was a kid. I was given some of those, and hence my love of these sort of dexterity puzzles when I was growing up. Now this one's a pile up. Now this one's got a mechanism in the middle where you sort of wind it up. It's like a clockwork thing, and then really nice mint box, that one. And then you sort of drive your car around the track. So the little red car there, you've got an on-off button, and that's how you drive your car. So quite a novel little system here. There you go. So this was around this sort of time the arcades were just starting to come into their own. Now we'd had basic sort of Pong games and the very early vector graphic-y effects games, but stuff like Space Invaders and the very early driving games were just starting to appear on the market. And you can sort of see in this last batch that the Pocketeers were trying to get in on that market, possibly with some of the games that they were producing, and also, you know, they were evidently losing money or market share to kids in the arcades, where they were starting to, you know, the odd Space Invaders game was starting to be in a chip shop or whatever down the pub, and they needed to compete. But that was a valiant effort, that pile-up. Certainly not a bad game. Really nice colourful graphics. Cool little Pocketeer, that one. And really mint box. Next one we've got here is, well, quintessentially British, you could say. It's a Big Hit, which is a cricket game. And once we've covered these videos, we will be looking at some, well, after these Pocketeers, they did come out in the UK as Tomy Pocket Games, and we've got a whole load of those to have a look through. And then sort of my final video will be looking at foreign releases, of which I've got a smattering from all the different sorts of companies. I'm still sort of collecting foreign issues now as I come across them, and this was one of the ones that was released in America as just baseball, and they just changed the graphics on it. But quite a simple premise, that, you know, one guy with the bat and one bowler, and you just fire the balls as best you can. Next one's called Gobble. Certainly a really nice looking game, this one. Really nice, bold, colourful graphics, which I like on these games. And if they've been looked after and they're in nice condition, they just look fantastic. Still the same artist, who I believe it's Bill Tidy, but I don't know for sure. Certainly looks like his style of artwork. This box is actually, although it's a really nice one, it's actually got a little bit of water wear on it, but the game itself is fine. And if you do find these games out in the wild, don't be scared to you know, give them a clean. They polish up really well. I remember coming back from, you know, when I used to do the boot sales in the the late 80s and up to probably the late 90s, early 2000s, you could pick up, if you knew what you were looking for, you could pick up dozens of these games. And I remember at one point I must have had easily a box of 100 spares. I had almost all of them, except some of the very early tough ones like Blowpipe and Crossbow. But Gobble's a good one, not a bad little one at all. Now this is Space Invaders. Absolutely screams 1978 this, doesn't it, with the rise of Space Invaders in the UK, the Taito hit video game, which was a huge hit at this time for a few years. And I think they didn't do a bad job, although the artwork on the front is awful, they didn't do a bad job of imitating the actual game of Space Invaders. So you've got the sort of the UFO at the top there, and you've got your score and just your start and stop. So the 3 blocks in front there are your actual aliens, and you're just trying to shoot the ball bearing through to get to the alien at the top, and that racks up your score. So that's how it works. And nice that it's like you've got the little planet Earth there, and it is that the planet is actually the UK, which is also quite interesting. It's got the British Isles, which you're trying to protect. Once again, something, because this was produced and it's a homegrown game from the UK, they put UK things on it, and I really, really like that. These aren't just straight imports from Tomy USA. That will actually be in the next run, where things got a little bit, Palitoy was no more and things got a little bit slack. But interesting all the same. So that's the first 5 there. Now we're on to another real favourite of mine. Beautiful artwork, this one. It's Splashdown. Probably, I would say, almost my favourite artwork of the entire series, this one. Because the actual box artist transfers to the game there. So you've got the astronaut there actually in the game, and you have to take out that little bit of plastic there, which I would imagine is often lost. And then the aim of the game there is to get as many balls into sort of the helicopter as possible, but they're all magnetised. So you need to get the like the ball bearing snake as long as possible. Really, really nice and clever game, this one. And I would imagine that little blue piece to keep your magnet in place is often missing. You can imagine not many of them have survived. But as I said, a really really nice game, this one. A real good looker as well. There we are. It just sort of fits in like that when I figured it out. And it's just to sort of keep the magnet in place, basically. So that covers the magnet. Yeah, really nice box art. Particularly good on that one. A real Pocketeer classic. Next we've got Time Trap, which is sort of back to the Bagatelle system. Once again, don't forget, 78, you've got Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Blake 7. There's lots of space programs on. This is so space is very much on the minds of people. Reruns of Star Trek on TV. So anything with like a science fiction bent is going to be put into game form. And that's sort of what they're trying to do here. Certainly space was a popular theme, and science fiction in general. So again, nice bold colours on this one. The yellow casing is cool. Now, this is another one of my favourites because it's so elaborate. Now, finding really nice ones of these is actually quite tricky because, as you'll see in a minute, the front of the box, or the front of the playing field, is in like that silver colour there, and that wears off really easily. So to find these with really nice, like solid silver is a bit tricky. But what you do, you've basically got 4 mini sort of dexterity games, and you have to get your little ball bearing using the controls there from one end to the other. So you've got like a little lever and little knobs to twist and things like that just to get it across the course. clever little idea. Once again, playing on the sort of the science fiction spacey theme with a moonshot. And yeah, it's a recommended one, that. I think it's a real nice one. Another little Pocketeers gem. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, probably quite tricky to find in nice mint condition, that one, because of the sort of the painted overlay on the lid there. Next we've got Cat and Mouse. I don't know if this is a little play on Tom and Jerry. I mean, I don't know. Might be. They were around this time. You know, I was a kid, 1978, 79. I was at 8, 9 years old, and I remember Tom and Jerry being on once a day, sort of after tea. And so a popular little theme here. They would just what you got to do is have your ball bearings at the top, and you have to sort of get them down to the bottom into a particular area. A couple of little ramps and things to use as well. There we are. Pretty straightforward. Quite fun all the same. And I do have a feeling that these later issues are perhaps amongst the hardest to find, really mint boxed. There's a few of these later ones in particular that I think are quite scarce. So I would be interested to know in the comments if there's any that you have found quite tricky to pick up. Certainly I started picking up the Pocketeers, you know, seriously trying to get a set together, probably back in about 1990. I had some of my favourites, and I had some from when I was a kid that I'd never got rid of. So it was just an extension of that, really. And it took a few years. So this one is Monkey Puzzle. This one's pretty clever. You've got like two sort of levels there with the monkeys on, which we'll see in a minute. I always thought the artwork on this looked a bit like the monkey from the Jungle Book. Don't know whether the artist sort of copied it, possibly, or used it as reference. And you have to get the sort of the balls up into the top of the monkey's treehouse. There we are. Fairly straightforward. I think that's quite a scarce one. Monkey Puzzle, I seem to remember, was one of the later ones that I managed to pick up. So you might need to be quite patient to get that one. But a good one all the same. But if you do come across that one cheap, I would grab it because I think it's quite scarce. So next we've got a bona fide classic, Mutanier. Pretty nice copy of this one. I remember having this one as a kid, and to be honest, I remember it being much more exciting than it was when I filmed this. Nowadays, there's like different versions. I think the modern version of this is Pop-Up Pirate. So you just got to take it in turns, pulling on the blue. Like I think it's supposed to represent corks or something in a bottle, and then if you press the wrong one, the pirate pops up. So it does rely a little bit on the element of disbelief and imagination, but that's not a problem. But still, quite a difficult one to get, I think, today. You can find loose ones absolutely fine, but a boxed one took quite a while for me, as I seem to recall. Now, this is Derby Day, Now the Derby, well, there is a Derby in America, but there's also the Derby horse race in the UK, and this is the only time we actually see the Pocketeers encouraging us to be gamblers again, unlike the early ones where there was a lot of them going on. And this is really good. You sort of you move your horses along the top, and you sort of place, I guess you place bets on which one might come in first. So there's that mechanism down the bottom there, then you hit stop, and that's your then bet, and then you move the horses at the top. Clever little system, that one, and a very ingenious actual device. I thought that was really clever use of the little mechanisms inside the Pocketeers, but certainly a horse racing based one. So next we've got Stunt Bike. This is a bit of fun. It uses the same principle as Pile Up that we saw earlier, except it's sort of transferred from cars to bikes. And the trick is to sort of go over little jumps, if you can, on your bike. It took me a few goes to get the swing of it, but once I did, I was able to play it a few times there. But it is quite tricky, this one. But beautiful graphics, and once again a clever little use of the clockwork mechanism inside. A Stunt Bike. Pretty cool. Looks very American, doesn't it, that one? Doesn't look like a Pocketeer. Now I think this one's also quite scarce, you know, Vampire. A pretty cool one, being horror. Nice box art. Got that big sticker on the front, which I would imagine, you know, would get worn over the time unless you've been lucky and found a nice sort of boxed one. But what you have to do is run the balls down in front of the sort of the set of teeth, which are magnetized, and you see they bang down like that. And as the balls come down, you have to try and catch them in the teeth with the magnets. Quite tricky to do, in actual fact. Yeah, I found this quite fiddly. But you know what it's like. I haven't touched some of these in decades. When you were a kid, you played them to death. So, you know, my all-time classic steeplechase, and it's a lot of people's favourite ever, Pocketeer, I could just do that one so easily, literally, you know, do the whole course front and back without any sort of problem. But that is because I must have invested hours and hours into playing it. And that's why they've got a lot of nostalgia in these games. Now the very last Palitoy Pocketeer is a re-release, but it's not. It's basketball, and there was a basketball very early on, but this is a different. That was the two-player version, you might remember, but this is a much simpler one-player version. It's a bit like the app Dunk King or whatever it's called now. You just fire your balls just as the net goes up there, clockwork style. And that was the very last British Pocketeer that was ever made. The last one in the series. And then there was a gap of a year or two, and then they started coming out as carded imports under the Tomy Pocket Games, and that's what we'll be having a look at next video. It does still say Pocketeers in the bottom left corner there. But there it was. What a shame they didn't carry on a little bit longer. So there you go. I hope you have enjoyed this final look through the British Pocketeers. If you have, do please give the video a thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing for regular Pocketeers action. And look for the next video with the Tomy Pocket Games coming next month. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.